As we continue to experience the devastating effects of COVID outbreaks locally and nationally, the Washtenaw United Way's response in our community has provided crucial funding to various nonprofits that residents have needed to lean on so heavily for the safety nets that keep families healthy, safe, and secure. The Washtenaw United Way raised and promptly distributed $1,627,500 into the community through the COVID-19 Community Relief Fund that it created in response to the immediate needs of our neighbors. As participants in EMU's 2022 United Way Kickoff webinar, you represent regular, leadership, and new givers who may or may not have firsthand or secondary knowledge of the many ways United Way supports our community. Our campaign is once again virtual this year, and as a result, it will be a shorter campaign cycle during the month of February, and we're learning how to pivot as we had to do when we rescheduled because it's Michigan and we had a snowstorm. EMU employees will receive and have been receiving weekly emails throughout the month of February, thanks to our wonderful staff member, Tyler, with details on giving and the impact of your generous donations through illustrations which highlight facts, figures, and programs related to Washtenaw United Way. Donations may be made by credit card, check, or payroll deduction. We will have a dedicated website, which is www.emich.edu/United Way. And giving can be easily accomplished through your MyEmish account. I want to just say that every dollar that you give finds its immediate way to helping the families here in Washtenaw County. And that's important. We all know through this third year of COVID, how important it is to actually help our neighbors. And so it is my hope that we will encourage you through this webinar, through the weekly reminder emails, that your ability to be blessed with a job and the ability to take care of your family will translate into being able to share just a piece of your blessing with others in the community. So please give. I'm now going to turn the webinar over for some words from our 23rd president here at Eastern Michigan University, President Dr. James Smith.
It's my pleasure to be with you this morning, Caroline. Thank you for the introduction, and I thank all of you for being here today and supporting United Way. I think, as you heard from Caroline, the intro was quite well said, that there is a lot that we can do, and there's a lot that we can do as a collective. So I wish we were all together in person. I too am weary from the 2+ now almost 3 years of the pandemic, and I'm getting tired of snow days also. So I do apologize that our last Zoom was canceled because of snow, but hopefully the pandemic is on its last legs, and let's hope that snow is on its last legs as we walk into March. But again, as Caroline said so well, we are in Michigan. So I think it's fair to say and fair to understand that the weather is as unpredictable as probably the pandemic is. I will be brief in my comments. We have two important leaders with us today from Washtenaw County, and I know they have a lot to share from their perspective on things that are going on in the county, but also with respect to what the United Way does and can do and will continue to do on behalf of all of us. Washtenaw County's health officer, Jimenita Loveluck, will be with us, and our Community and Economic Development Director, Teresa Gelati, will be joining as well. And they're certainly special guests for today. Himania is important, critical, and responsible for many of the heroic actions that have gone on in this 2+ years of the pandemic. I somewhat refuse to say 3. So I keep saying 2+, I guess, to avoid the fact that March is right around the corner. And from the EMU perspective, March starts the 3rd year of the pandemic. Teresa's been charged with helping the community prosper economically. Obviously, we know the challenges of 2020, 2021, and now we're seeing the challenges of 2022. There's no question we're facing workforce shortages, and there's certainly no question that as we look at the economy and we look at inflation, those are critical factors as people struggle to continue to move forward in their lives. I know all of you are aware of the fact that the pandemic has been more horrendous for some than others, has been more impactful for some than others. And again, hearkening back to the words of Caroline, many of us are blessed to be able to give and give in significant ways. And I would urge you to do that. Give as you can. Keep in mind the great work that United Way does. Excuse me. Connie and I are incredibly proud to be leadership givers for the United Way. We have kind of a silly way that we like to give. I don't think Pam thinks it's silly because she likes the way it comes out, but we give based on the year. So last year we gave $2,021, and obviously this year we will commit to $2,022. I think back to my days as a public school teacher and administrator and what United Way was able to do for children that didn't have adequate clothes for winter, maybe didn't have adequate shoes for spring and summer, didn't always know where their family's meals were coming from, didn't have notebooks, didn't have notepads, didn't have markers, didn't have pens and pencils. And United Way would step in and help those children be able to come to my classroom or my school and be successful. They also were helping their families survive, and you could see that firsthand. So I hope that you will give with your heart, as many of you have done for many years, and think especially as we walk into an uncharted time of inflation, of rising gasoline prices. I stopped to get gas last night just because I was listening to CNBC and the prediction of increased gas costs. Some of our folks can't do that. They can't fill up their car in advance. They have to wait until X, Y, or Z happens for them to be able to do that. So I will stop with my pitch, but I will thank all of you. And it is now both my responsibility and my honor to introduce Brandon Tucker from Washtenaw Community College. Brandon is the chair of this year's United Way campaign. And in advance, we want to thank him. And I look forward to hearing the rest of the presentation today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Smith. As he said, I'm Brandon Tucker. I have the pleasure of serving as the Associate Vice President of Workforce and Community Development right down the street around the corner at Washtenaw Community College. But even a more greater honor is serving as the chair of the 2022 United Way of Washtenaw County campaign. As the chair of this campaign, it's my pleasure to join Eastern Michigan, EMU, for your virtual kickoff campaign. In line with our 2022 campaign theme, United for Equity, the Washtenaw United Way is committed to continuing and possibly increasing our support of community nonprofits that are serving our hardest hit communities. We know in Washtenaw County, there are pockets and communities that have been hit hard by the pandemic, but the pandemic only illuminated what issues have been long-standing in our community. At United Way, we have a vision that by 2030, no matter your zip code, that you will have the opportunity to live an equitable life. What does equity look like? It looks like that young child that finds their way to a program in the community to help develop and grow as a young child in our community. It's that high school age student that finds a center or a program that allows for them to be able to prepare for not just the world of work, but the world of life. It's that working single parent that needs dollars to be able to have childcare and access, but oftentimes needs their taxes done and cannot afford to pay H&R Block $200 to get it done. It's our seniors that we want to be able to age gracefully in our community. United Way, through our many community partners, allows those types of things to happen day in and day out. And it takes all of us. We're grateful for Dr. Smith setting the tone with the leadership gift. But each one of us on this call today, we have the ability to impact our community. One kid, one teenager, one adult, one senior at a time. I've been involved with United Way for now nearly 2 decades, initially as a funded partner at a former institution, but now as your chair. And I see firsthand the power of living united. I have the awesome responsibility and job to introduce Hamida Lovelick, who is the Administrative Health Officer and leads our Washtenaw County Health Department, and Teresa Gelati, who is the Director of the Washtenaw County Office of Community and Economic Development. They have some themes and some thoughts that they want to share today that I believe all of us are in for a treat. I now pass the baton to them.
Thank you so much, Brandon, for that introduction. And it's really a pleasure to be with you this morning. I want to first of all start by thanking Eastern Michigan University for their ongoing partnership, particularly during COVID. As many of you know, EMU hosted our mass vaccination site, and we continue to work in partnership closely with Eastern Michigan University to ensure campus safety throughout this pandemic. In addition, United Way has been an incredible partner with the health department, really from the very beginning of the pandemic, to ensure that those safety net services continue in our community and promoting vaccination and COVID information. And I'll talk about that a little bit more. I know that President Smith didn't want to talk about entering the third year of COVID, but I do want to recognize that as we enter the third year of COVID, we are in a very different place than we were at the beginning of the pandemic. We have many more tools that are effective in preventing severe illness and hospitalization. Most importantly, COVID-19 vaccines. And at the health department, and I know Eastern Michigan and United Way continue to do all they can to promote vaccination and other resources related to COVID-19. In addition, I think that we want to ensure that in our response, as we have from the beginning, that we center equity in our response. As Brandon mentioned, we know that there are communities and areas of our county that have been disproportionately impacted. And it is our responsibility to respond in an equitable manner to ensure that resources are prioritized for people and communities that have been disparately impacted. At the health department, we are approaching our 2-year anniversary of our first cases identified in Washtenaw County. And it has been quite an experience as we have had to adapt to the pandemic and to what we have learned throughout this time. In 2020, our focus was on containing cases and focusing on case investigation and contact tracing. In 2020, the Washtenaw County Health Department spoke with 42,000 community members about their COVID illness or exposure. In 2021, we turned to focus on vaccination and getting as many shots in arms as possible. To this date, Washtenaw County Health Department has administered over 116,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines. And we couldn't have done that without the partnership of Eastern Michigan United Way and so many others. One of the things that I really want to spotlight and what really strengthened the partnership with Washtenaw County Health Department and United Way is the Rapid Response Initiative that we were awarded in the fall of 2020. For Washtenaw County Health Department and United Way, as well as a couple of other organizations, this brought over $1 million in funding to Washtenaw County to address the needs related to COVID-19 and support many community organizations and community efforts. For the health department, we focused on increasing access to COVID-19 testing, particularly in 48197, 48198 zip code areas, as well as getting supplies to community members in need, whether that was personal protective equipment or other kinds of basic resources like cleaning supplies and safety supplies. This was an incredible partnership with the Washtenaw United Way to really ensure that equity was driving our response. And most recently, the Washtenaw United Way has helped support a really important initiative with the Washtenaw County Health Department, a group of community health workers and vaccine ambassadors that have been doing community outreach and that have been working to promote COVID-19 vaccines throughout the community. This has resulted in moving from 48% of our census tracts in May of 2021 having a vaccine rate of 70% or higher to today having 85% of our census tracts in Washtenaw County having reached that goal of a vaccination rate of 70% or higher. This is incredible work that we have done with the support of United Way. Finally, as has been mentioned before, COVID certainly has put a spotlight on the urgency of eliminating health inequities and investing in community-driven solutions that address root causes. This is something that is at the root of the United Way's mission and the campaign, and I applaud them for that because equity must be a core value for funders, institutions, and government. Thank you so much, and please support United Way and their important work as we continue to work on recovery and response to COVID-19. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jimena. Hi, Teresa.
Well, hi, good morning. Thanks so much for having me. I'm going to echo a lot of the things that Jimena just shared, but I actually, when I first was invited to be part of this presentation this morning, I was trying to think back to the first days of the pandemic, and they were some pretty crazy wild days where I think we were learning so much on the fly. We were trying to do constant assessment of what was going on in the community. And I don't know how many times I was on the phone with Pam Smith, but it was frequent and it was regular because we were trying to figure out what was happening in our community. We knew, for example, that during the shutdown, the early days of the shutdown, that people weren't having access to food pantries. And a lot of the volunteers at food pantries were seniors who we no longer wanted to be working there. So there was all this recalibration and quick action. And I think it's at these times in crisis where you're just so grateful to have established partners connected to community like the United Way, actually like Eastern. I remember being on conversations with both Pam and then Decky about how do we expand internet access for low-income households who are now going to be doing virtual learning for the rest of the first year in schools, and then, well, the second year, into the second year of the pandemic. And there was a lot of actually a lot of conversations really with Comcast and other providers about folks that had past arrearages and what can we do now to make sure that folks have access to internet so they don't lose their connection to learning when they're at home. So I can't even tell you all of the many ways that we were partnering and connecting, just really a lot of triage in the beginning to make sure that there was access to food, access to resources like internet, that there was connections for older adults who were now at home, like, locked down for months and months and months to make sure that there was calls to check in on them and other connections, as well as Meals on Wheels and other deliveries to make sure that folks were being cared for in our community. It's just a massive sort of coordination and was really proud and grateful that we had someone like United Way to partner with on the regular. The other thing I wanted to really highlight, there was a lot again going on with that first year, but it was amazing how quickly United Way was able to stand up a new fund to support nonprofits who were delivering COVID services in the community. So they were able to fundraise that immediately, again, a testament to what they do and their integrity and how they are a trusted partner, that they were able to raise over $1 million funds and get it out to our community partners immediately, who were actually helping with food access, who were doing PPE deliveries, who were providing healthcare, childcare, so many services that were needed by our low-income families in the community. And then the state actually recognized their work, provided additional funding, and they were able to, again, fund those same agencies to continue that work later in the year. This was really essential. And what I really appreciate from the equity lens is that United Way was saying, okay, we have our traditional partners, but who else is doing this work? We saw so many neighborhood associations and sort of mutual aid networks and other groups that came out of the pandemic and were providing services, and United Way was able to support them as well. Be flexible, be adaptive, and sort of meet people where they are. So they've did an amazing job and continue to do so. So we're always proud to partner with them. And, you know, as things are a little bit more stabilized than those early frantic days when we were all learning and adapting so quickly, but know that they are just such a great partner in the community, committed to focusing on addressing poverty, racism, and trauma, making sure equity comes first. And so just also encourage everyone to consider donating to United Way, volunteering with United Way, and being engaged as we move forward and hopefully do come out of this pandemic.
Thanks so much, Teresa. We really appreciate both you and Jimena being here this morning. And again, we have relied on our partners to make sure that we're able to move this work forward in our community. I wanted to take just a minute because I wanted to explain how much United Way not only is there for the individuals and the families in our community, but for nonprofit agency support as well. So all of you know that the dollars that we raise each and every year are completely reinvested in the community each and every year. But it doesn't stop there for us. We continually work with our nonprofit partners to say, how's it going? What more do you need? How can we provide support? And each time the grant funding is completed, we work with them throughout the year to continue the conversation. And one of the things about our work in equity is how we've changed how we work with our nonprofit partners. And I wanted to read some of their responses because we talk to them throughout the year, and then we do an overview to ask them, how did this money work for you? So that you as a donor knows exactly where your dollars went, how it was spent. And it's all online and available for you at any time. So you can always go to see, how is your dollar working today? So United Way funding allowed us to be more nimble to address the immediate need that we did not plan for. How do you plan for a pandemic, right? Being able to keep our doors open despite changing times and having United Way funding was extremely impactful and needed. It made a huge difference in helping us reach the most marginalized people in our community who otherwise might not have been able to be served. I want to lift up trust, and that a funder would trust us to make the right decisions, living it day to day. It also extends trust to others. It builds trust in community and all who are connected with United Way. We fund over 60, 70 different programs on a regular basis. And I wanted to just share one of the stories that was shared with us from the Michigan Advocacy Program. One of our attorneys has been engaged for years in federal litigation to protect severely disabled clients who are dependent on state support to hire caregivers. That support was being cut. The attorney got word that the state agency was cutting off certain services to this population based solely on the existence of COVID without notice to the participants. Our attorney and partners advocated with agencies and got the notice and the appeal rights restored. This effort led to over 400 people having their services reinstated. There's very limited funding for impact work, which limits our ability to affect change. So when this unrestricted support came in from United Way, we were able to really create immediate change in our community. So like I said, when you go online, you'll read story after story of how things are changing because of your donation, because of your commitment to the community. And when we ask you to share time, talent, or treasure, it will be put to good use. When you give, those dollars immediately impact the community. When you volunteer, your hours help nonprofits run. Most nonprofits need volunteers to complete and execute on their mission and their goals in the community. And when you advocate and you create systems change and you break down the barriers that are keeping inequities in place in our community, when you take the time to vote, it matters. It matters each and every day. And so I'm so delighted to say thank you to President Smith, to say thank you to Carolyn Sanders, to thank Teresa and Jimena for joining us, for Brandon and his leadership, and most importantly, for each and every one of you, because whether it's $1 or $1,000, it all adds up to making a huge difference. And when we live united, we can create so many community solutions, and we do it together. I encourage you to get involved in your community, to stay informed, and to stay in touch. And we'll see you again next year. Carolyn, back to you.
Thank you, Pam. It is a blessing to be in a community such as Washtenaw County that is large, but still has a hometown feel, and to be able to know each person that has presented here today, Dr. Smith, Brandon Tucker, Jimena Loveluck, Teresa Gelati, Pam Smith, myself, and the EMU Engage team. It's a blessing to be able to actually know these people individually and to be able to get immediate responses from them. You don't always have that in other counties and other areas of the country, but we're a close-knit group. And so I would just like to close this webinar out. This may be rudimentary to some, but I wanted to just keep the focus on the purpose of this webinar, not to have the fancy background, but to just make it simple. 2 words, please give. And you can do that by going to www.emich.edu/United Way and make your pledge. We appreciate all of your support, and on behalf of our community members who are in need and who are able to give, thank you very much for taking your time out this morning. We are ending early. I hope everybody's excited about that. And we hope that you will help us achieve our goal of continuing to support Washtenaw United Way. Thank you so much and have a great day.